Good, we're rolling?
Rolling.
Great.
And sneezing.
And sneezing. Oh. Yes, Claritin, guys. That's my biggest suggestion. Claritin works a lot better. Not Benadryl. Benadryl can make you super drowsy, like it makes me. So that's not one I recommend. Claritin, yes. Well, as always, it's great to be with you guys. Today's been a beautiful day. So let's, kind of continue down. We're coming down to the wire as far as most of the behavior interventions that we've discussed. We're probably going to end discussing some of the mandatory ethical things, but I think for today, this is really where everything kind of comes together. Everything that we've been talking about the past couple of months in the most practical way possible. So how about we get into it? So today, we're going to be talking about self-monitoring. This was a pleasant surprise to see in the curriculum. So I'm very happy to talk about this. Self-monitoring, you can think of it as being able to be aware of your behavior and then track and respond to it as you yourself or the individual you're assisting come up to target particular goals. And what's cool is this is not going to be just something we can do with clients or loved ones, but this is really something that we can do ourselves, and we'll get into some practical applications of that shortly. But yeah, ultimately, when it comes to using self-monitoring for clients, so then they become a little bit more independent, just all what we really would like them to do. Self-monitoring has a huge list of different benefits. It gives the clients in particular a sense of empowerment. Now, there is a difference between being able to have something done for you and you being able to do something yourself. And I'm sure you guys have seen this with some of the clients where if they're able to do something on their own but before they would normally need some assistance, you can just see the joy and the proudness on their faces. I mean, I just think of various clients who just yell out, "Yay, I did it!" And you just really resonate with that. It's such a great, warm feeling to be able to have with them. So, and then they know when they're progressing. They know that they're developing as individuals. And the other thing too is be able to have them be accountable with some of, let's say, the higher functioning clients who you can kind of ask them, "Oh, hey, what do you want to work on? What are your goals?" If they tell you exactly what it is they want to work on, then you can kind of hold them to it and keep them a little bit accountable, asking them, "Well, hey, so how are your goals coming along?" And one of the great things about self-monitoring too is the lack of self-control would be impulsivity, kind of just acting on a whim. And if you have some structure in place that you yourself are following, then that can help alleviate and have your actions be a lot more focused. Kind of like what we were talking about previously with the whole ACT stuff, about being able to work towards your values. That video, we'll come back to it, see if we have time for it. So there are three main components of self-monitoring. The first one is to develop a sense of awareness. So the individual has to be able to, in the moment, recognize their behavior and seeing as whether this behavior is consistent with their goals or if it isn't. Again, using the ACT lingo, is it moving towards your values or is it moving away from them? And on the topic of goals, be able to have very specific and concise goals, just as we have for the BIPs and the ISPs. If the individual recognizes and has contributed to it, then they themselves can also monitor it because they have the understanding of what it is they need to do. And no behavior intervention is complete without reinforcement. So this is the individual, whether or not it's socially mediated or they themselves deliver their own reinforcement by way of a reward after hitting a particular goal or a particular milestone. it's really important to have rewards in place for yourself. So without that, we're not going to be motivated. We're not going to try to go for the things we want to do, and it's a very surefire way to be disconnected to our values. Again, thing that leads us to live the life we want to live. Okay. Now, did I go too fast? No? If you guys need me to just reel it down a little bit, please tell me. Okay. So 4 parts of setting a self-monitoring program. First one, again, picking the goal, just like we do with the ISPs and VIPs. We want to make it very specific. We want to be able to have it be something that the individual can work on. So in this example here, I have somebody who wants to work on developing their social skills. Let's say they want to come out of their shell a little bit and they want to make more friends. That's something that's pretty common. What's something we can work on? Oh, so how about we focus on having a goal centered around them greeting individuals as they come in and out of the program. I think that's a good idea. It's a good place to start. Okay, so we got the goal in place. Now let's set them up for success by changing the environment in such a way to make completing the goal that much easier. Because if we are able to remove any of these barriers, then we're essentially going to make getting to the goal, reaching it that much quicker, that much more efficient. So in this case, we have our individual, they want to work on being able to greet others as they come in and out. And perhaps we are only going to focus on a handful of individuals who they have not seen that day. So let's make them a checklist, and we put the names of various clients or other staff for them to be able to greet. That way they know who to look out for. They know who to say hello to. And then how about we seat them or have them sit by the door? That way they're not all the way in the corner, not being able to see the individual or be able to greet them from the very end of the room. Instead, it's right then and there, very efficient. And we're going to get into how they can do that a little bit more easily by having some other things in place, such as visual schedule. So this is something that, yeah, could totally help a handful of clients, just giving them more structure. Having these timers. So just as we can use timers, we can have clients use them too if we teach them to use them well enough. And another big one too is having a defined space for work. So you can kind of look at it if they're gonna work on vocational skills that are related to office. Perhaps they do that just in the office instead of in one of the rooms where they might focus a lot more on leisure tasks, for instance. And if they're gonna work on, let's say, learning how to use a computer, can't think of a better room than that one right there. So just for what some of these things may look like. See, just a very basic visual schedule. One that tells you what you got to do, what you did. One of these timers, I'm pretty sure we have the exact same one in the other room. And then, yeah, designated workspace, the computer with the desk. Okay, this is where it starts getting a little fun. Teach them to record data. Again, we can learn and be trained to collect data on particular goals. So can we have some of these individuals who work with? And because again, this is self-monitoring, so they're going to be doing this pretty much by themselves with some level of guidance. And this can come just in a very simple way. Oh, did I do the thing I was supposed to? Yes or no? Circle that. Did I greet the individual I was supposed to? Put a tally or put an X. Yeah, checklists, checking the list and then checking it twice. Yeah, especially for the clients, some of them who may work on self-monitoring and making it as simple as possible by adding those visuals, the big check boxes, I think will do them a lot of good. And then to another thing, using mobile apps. Now, I'm not sure it would be the best idea to teach a client how to use their app, but it's possible. And coming back to the example of the individual learning to do greetings, yeah, give them the checklist. So-and-so walks by, Jonathan walks by, oh, gotta say hi to him. I say hi, boom, get a check. And again, no behavior intervention would be complete without reinforcement. So this would be the individual choosing the reward. It's got to be fitting with what they decide to do. And again, kind of keeping in mind all the things we discussed about reinforcement, correct magnitude, the correct amount, the correct duration, the immediacy of it after completing the goal. So in this case, yeah, I mean, having an individual end the day with playing a board game with one of us would be really cool. Pretty good reward if they get their goal done. So again, this is still related to on the topic of clients. Something that we've discussed numerous times to define the behavior we're trying to target. So-and-so will greet at the minimum of 3 individuals per day. Again, picking a simple tool, typically a checklist, box a tally with big visuals goes a long way. And being able to teach the individual the system they use and to be able to give them feedback on it, as we'll look in just a moment. You guys see it? I promise this is the biggest I can make the font. And again, just like with any behavior plan, ideally we want to fade so then the individual can be a lot more self-reliant. Here are reminders for them to work on the goal. Your prompts for them to look at the material. Gonna move on, guys? Okay, good. Ah, yes, feedback. Feedback is so important. Feedback is so crucial. Something that I've been trying to work on myself as of late. So when we reinforce, we want to highlight the behavior that we like, the behavior we want to see more of. Now, when it comes to delivery of feedback, there's also the component of recognizing what the individual did, what they did right, and what they could work on better, so then they can get to the goal they have. And with that comes a lot of reinforcement. So that's also going to lead to them being motivated to carry about their goals. Yeah, feedback, I couldn't stress quite enough how important it is. Okay. This is where I think it becomes incredibly practical. Because again, to some degree, we work with the clients, and some of them may benefit from a self-monitoring curriculum or a part of their goals. But if we're talking about just behavior, terminologies, and causes altogether, I don't think there's any better way to put them into practice than putting them on ourselves. And that's why I said that today is really going to bring everything we've been talking about to its most practical level. Being able to use self-monitoring to help us in our own goals and our own aspirations. Yeah, so it's not just for clients, it's for everybody, it's for us. So here are a few instances of how we may use self-monitoring. So let's say you want to work on your health and your fitness. We want to begin with laying out a plan. Okay, what is my goal? Drinking more water, staying hydrated. Pretty big one. Or going to the gym consistently. So then you do things in the environment to set yourself up for success. Putting your water bottle right there in your nightstand so then you can drink water more easily. You don't have to go up in the middle of the night to go grab a glass of water from the kitchen. You instead just grab it from your bottle that's right there in the nightstand. Or if you're like me and have to go to the gym in the morning, picking out your clothes, I just removed one other thing you have to worry about. So along with that, again, keeping things simple, also be able to record data on your progress. There are a ton of nice little fitness apps that are out there that are free that I like to use. And I didn't highlight this too much, but there are various other forms of strategies that we can use for self-monitoring. I like to highlight the more positively reinforcing ones, but there is a place for self-punishment in a self-monitoring program. So for instance, you can have an accountability partner, which is exactly what I do when I made it a goal of mine to go to the gym on a somewhat consistent basis. I have a friend who is more than willing to call me out and to report to tell to anybody who would listen that, oh, hey, Sal didn't meet his goal. He was lazy this week. And I have to show him every time that I go to the gym. I have to send him proof that I'm there. I have to take a picture of me and my watch at the exact time to timestamp it. So then he doesn't say, oh, Sal, you took that earlier and you're just sending it to me now. So we really thought it all the way through, and it's been working. It's been keeping me accountable. Yeah, so that is something else you can consider. If you have somebody who could serve as an accountability partner, you could do that. But again, your mileage may vary with these punishment-based procedures for yourself. Reducing personal stress. What I like about these self-management concepts is whenever you read a self-help book, let's say one that talks about, okay, how to make good habits, how to break bad habits, they all pretty much incorporate these self-monitoring strategies. Something that we mentioned during some of the ACT stuff would be to be more present in the moment, kind of recognizing bodily sensations, your thoughts, your feelings, just all that, how it might be playing out in the moment. And then from there, you're using a calming strategy to then be able to regulate yourself. And if you are able to implement that, then you can, again, reward yourself by either listening to some preferred music. Again, just like how clients can work for songs and particular music that they like, that doesn't mean we can't set that up for ourselves too, or podcasts or audiobooks or whatever it is that you enjoy. That's a big one because this is something I've been guilty of numerous occasions. Budgeting and spending, yes. So something that you can do is set yourself up a few instances of needless spending that you could do. Again, something I'm guilty of. Whenever I'm out with friends, I always want to buy some coffee. Even though there's coffee at home, I want to get coffee. Yeah, so you can track those impulses by and then say, I will not buy more than 3 cups of coffee in a week. When I'm out, when I don't have to. So then you can just do a simple tally, simple recording, either notebook or your phone. For each time you buy a non-essential item, you make one tally mark. And then again, you can look at the end of the week, give yourself some feedback, or you can do what I do, is get an accountability partner and say, why are you being so reckless? Why are you spending so much? Yes. Don't you have that thing you're trying to save for? No, shouldn't be doing that. Okay, this is a good one. This is a really fun one. So being able to use self-monitoring to learn a new hobby. Learning a lot of new hobbies or these new skills, you gotta really have to break them down to make them to bite-sized increments. It's very difficult. Something that I like to do in my spare time, learn and practice. And man, is that instrument tough. Or being able to learn a new language. Yeah, I have to confess to you guys that I have not learned any new words in Tagalog in probably 3 or 4 months now. So I don't know, maybe one of you guys could be my accountability partner to learn some new words. Dave, it'll be an honor if you could help me. Yeah, but it requires practice, and that consistent level of practice is something that you can make a goal. I will work on learning new words in Tagalog for 10 minutes for 3 days out of the week in 3 consecutive months. That's not the goal I'm making for myself right now. Just keep in mind. But that's just an example of what you could do. Yeah. Then of course, once you establish that as a habit, then you want to start fading that out for yourself. So not necessarily having the daily reminders from your device or post-it notes. Just being able to just have that be a part of your regular routine. But when you are able to use self-monitoring on yourself, like I try to do, it makes it a lot easier to teach it to others. Because again, these are all pretty rudimentary ideas, very basic applications that if you pick up any self-help books on habits, chances are you're going to run into these. So it's really helpful to have those under your belt as you begin trying to work towards your values, work on your own goals, so then you can relay that to others.
Atomic habits.
What was that one?
Atomic habits.
Yes.
That's a good one.
That's a good one. Even in terms of social skills, How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie. Very practical, bite-sized applications of these self-monitoring goals as it relates to making new relationships. Yeah, I mean, just name one self-help book, and chances are there's going to be some self-monitoring incorporated in there. Summary. Yeah. So we can kind of look at self-monitoring in these many facets. When it comes to implementing it to clients, the idea would be to get them to be as independent as possible. That way we can lead them to going from instructor-led to client-led. We look at the 4-step plan to implement to creating a self-monitoring regimen. So that begins with identifying the goal. What are you trying to do? Change the environment in such a way that makes it easier to achieve. Record the data, have a good and simple way to track that, and self-reinforcement. And then for some everyday uses, again, everybody, and pretty much anybody can benefit from self-monitoring, not just the clients. For them, they can develop a checklist, of visual for more independent completion. Yeah, something we might try with Michelle. Something that'll really help her. Yeah, in terms of work, I'm not sure just exactly how that would shape up, but yeah, I mean, if for somebody who kind of struggles recognizing when they need to catch a break, yeah, setting a timer for yourself and then rewarding yourself with the said break, good way to go about it. Yeah, then personal life, we kind of went through a few different examples, whether it be stress management or fitness, to be able to, again, align yourself closer to your goals and the things that you want out of your life to make it more meaningful. Any questions regarding self-management?
What's up is that? Can you
What was that?
that habit tracking up? Can you give an example?
Yeah. There's one.
I don't have. What up?
There are many different ones. There are some that track your reading habits. There are some that track your workouts, like the one I use.
Mm-hmm.
And there are just some general ones where you can kind of create your own habits, and it does something very similar where you just check it off, or you just press the button that tells you, oh, I did this today, so this is bringing me closer to my goal.
You can download that. You can download that one.
Yes,
Right?
yes.
Good.
Yeah, and then why didn't it occur to me to not share some example for you guys? I'll have it for tomorrow. Don't you worry, guys. I'll share with you some.
Yeah, some apps.
Yes, so some apps. Yeah.
Your
So
phone
she-
is Samsung, right, Kuya? Samsung.
I don't have.
Is it built in one on the Samsung?
There's some built-in ones. I mean,
Yeah, that's it.
you can also keep it super simple and just use a notes-taking app. Because again, you can just tally and then count it up at the end of the week. But there are some more fancy ones that make you a whole graph. Again, just like their app.
And I mean, what's not? What's ordinary WhatsApp? I took.
Yes, that's one of the cool things about having the watches. It tells you all the steps and all the things you can do with it. But yeah, I'll have that for you tomorrow, guys. So I'll do a bit of research. Okay, so now that we've gone through self-monitoring, I think I do have time for that video.
So we'll go up.
It's if there's something in place and it's being really effective, I urge you to try to put your finger on the behavioral principles that are consistent, that are underlying
You get
that
gem,
behavior change.
Tyler, that's a gem. It's like,
Self-monitoring interventions in which the individual is taught to discriminate and make a record of the occurrence or non-occurrence of a target behavior. So the learner is measuring their own behavior, increases independence because the individual is the agent of the intervention as opposed to a teacher or another adult. This is a learner observing their own behavior and making permanent product physical record of that behavior, collecting data, right? So it's not just about like you're chatting about it, it's about you're writing it down. I like this. What's the big deal? Use self-control to match your response to the appropriate level. We're not necessarily talking about self-control here, which we know is foregoing an immediate smaller reinforcer for a future larger reinforcer. And a lot of extreme emotional responses are impulsive, which is the opposite of self-control, opting to take that immediate smaller reinforcer and foregoing the larger, longer-term reinforcer.
I think most social problems that we all have and personal problems are due to that impulsivity or just not being able to forego that small immediate reinforcer at the expense of a larger remote one. That's really one of my, that and biology, obviously, like biology.
I have to give you credit, by the way. I spit out those definitions the other day in front of one of my case managers. And she looked at me like, oh my God, you are so smart. And I was like, Amanda's on my shoulder. It came out like that.
I love that. Thank you for telling me that. I think that when you've gone through this process, if you can say with some level of confidence using your data and observations that you've taught appropriate emotional responses. Your data indicates it, your observations of the learner indicate it in natural environment under generalized conditions, generalized people present in the environment. I would say that self-control and impulsivity, if you're still seeing inappropriate emotional responses, impulse control and self-control might be a next step to supporting that learner and reducing disruptive behavior and increasing appropriate behavior. You might want to look at those reinforcement paradigms. It might be just not worth it for them to wait for that bigger, longer term reinforcement. Or maybe we're thinking there's a bigger, longer term reinforcement that's available and obvious to the learner, but it's not. You know, those are all things to think about after this initial skill acquisition. But we can't say that the learner should be exhibiting self-control if these skills are not in that learner's repertoire.
Yeah, that is all to say, guys, that impulsivity, this drive to go for shorter term rewards in exchange for the longer term rewards, like having good finances, good health, gets in the way of implementing it. So it is something that should be done gradually. I think she could have said that in a lot more fewer terms, but that's the idea. The opposite of self-control, self-monitoring is impulsivity. So that's something we want to address in gradually. So for instance, for me, for my fitness goal of going to the gym, I didn't start off, oh, I'm going to go every single day. Because I know I'm not going to do that. But I can start with going 3 times a week. I can at least do that. So that's the thing I want to highlight about the impulsivity. We talked about this stuff, so much fun things. Okay. Any questions before we move on to questions I have for you guys? Everything sounds good? Shaping up? Okay. Let's see. What is the primary objective of teaching self-monitoring to a client? Okay, I'm hearing, I think D or B?
D.
Hearing D, okay, let's see.
Let's do it.
Definitely D, yes. Increase their independence. And again, we want more of those moments where they say, yay, I did it. None of the other ones are too relevant. B is a bad idea. You never want to remove reinforcements. Always want to have positive reinforcements here. Cool. When setting up a self-monitoring plan, what does environmental modification involve? So just waiting for the environment to change before starting anything, changing to the surroundings to make the behavior easy, moving. Ooh. Changing surrounds. Everyone's in agreement to be? Yes. Changing the surroundings. If the goal is to make it easier for the client to greet, have them sit in a place where it'd be easy for people to walk by so then they can greet others. If your goal is to learn how to play a new instrument, how about you put the instrument in a place that's really easy to access? Like let's say the living room or your bedroom, instead of hiding it out in a case underneath your bed. Because believe me, I did that. A client wants to work on social skills. What would be an example of data recording in their self-monitoring plan? BB? Letter B is right. Yes. Did I say hi to Jonathan? Yes. Did I say hi to Vaughn? Yes. Did I say hi to John in the back? Yes, I did. What is the final step in designing a self-monitoring plan before we could say that the learner has been independent? So hearing A, hearing B.
Gradually.
Yes, gradually, yes. We want to take our foot off the gas just little by little. B does not sound like a productive plan. It's like, oh, we did this for you. Now you got to do it for somebody else. That's not fun. How can we apply self-monitoring to our own professional lives? I'm hearing C as well. BBB? Yes, it is B. Early on, when I was in RBT, this is something I had to do. You want, again, use reinforcement to have the client stay motivated, stay engaged, being very specific as to the behaviors you're trying to look out for. Very good. Health reinforcement and personal self-monitoring plan, like a fitness goal, for instance.
A.
Okay. Okay, I'm hearing a lot of A. Yes. Reward yourself. You worked very hard. You deserve to give yourself a reward. Now, B is a little bit more relevant to me, but no, it's definitely A for the vast majority of cases. Last one, guys. Here we go. Why is regular feedback important when a client is self-monitoring? Creates opportunities for reflection. Let's see. Wow, you guys are absolutely on fire. Yes. Creates opportunities for reflection, boost engagement. This is what you did. This is what I liked. This is how you could improve in that. Again, the idea of reducing the prompts and dependence by easing the gas of the foot pedal. How you guys feeling? Still warm? Tired? I'm right there with you. I'm right there with you. Well, thank you guys so much for your engagement. Well, I'll have some stuff for you tomorrow in terms of the fitness apps. I think that'll be a good way to start the day off. And yeah, thank you guys. Have a good rest of your day. Yes.